Welcome to ITW. Wait a minute, I'm Aubrey.
No, I'm Aubrey.
No, I'm Aubrey.
No, I'm Aubrey.
What's going on here? Anyway, we're going to start the show. Today we got a great episode on podcasting. This is a great way for schools to deliver information to their teachers. I know a lot of schools have started doing this on their own. So we thought this would be a good way. We thought this would be a good way for us to give you some ideas and give you some thoughts on how you can start your own podcasting at your school. So we got a lot of great information for you guys today. So hopefully you'll find this episode useful.
Stick around for this episode of ITW.
All right, guys, I know today we're going to talk about podcasting, but we're going to go over the broad sense of broadcasting in general. So it's not just audio, it's going to be video as well. And there's a lot that goes into it. So we wanted to, as an instructional technology team, show you some key components of making a good podcast or broadcast in general. So let's go take a look at the team and let's see what they think about how to make a good broadcast. So we're with Heather Nussbaum. She's an instructional technology specialist. Thank you for joining us.
Yep.
Heather, so what would you say would be a good starting point for any school or student who is trying to start their own podcast?
I would say a key factor is to make sure you have a good vision. To have a good vision, you need to know what you want to accomplish and know your audience.
So what advice would you give to schools or students who are looking to begin podcasting?
My advice for students is for them to know how they want to present their information, what tools they want to use, and then also what is their topic that they're going to be presenting about. And then for the schools, I think it's important for them to know their audience and make sure they're providing information that they are unaware of or they want to know more about.
Well, thanks, Heather, for that. Let's go check out David and let's see what he can tell us about making a good broadcast. So here we are with David. You guys know David, part of DNA. And David, we're going to talk about podcasting today. We've talked with Heather Nussbaum, and she kind of schooled us on the importance of the vision of the podcast. So what's the next step? What do you think the next thing that's going to really take the podcast to the next level?
Well, the next step is looking at the resources. What do you have available at your fingertips that you or your students can utilize? And when you do that, you're going to look at two different things. You're going to look at your hardware and you're going to look at your software. Okay, when you look at either one, you want to know, are you going to create video podcasts or are you going to create audio podcasts? All right, so that's one thing you need to know. So let's start by looking at the different hardware tools that teachers in CMS have available to them. First thing, we have the Chromebook, and if you're using the Chromebook, you can use a couple different tools. Number one, you can use Snagit. Snagit's a great piece of software for creating screencasts. You can also use WeVideo. You can also use Screencastify. So those are different resources, different pieces of software that you can use if your device is going to be the Chromebook. Now, moving on, we have an iPad here. This is what we use for our app of the week. We also use it for our Tech Minutes. Okay, so it's very simple. You can use iMovie if you're using the iPad. And moving along, if you have a MacBook, you can also use iMovie on the MacBook. So iMovie is kind of compatible with both, and you can kind of go back and forth. And believe it or not, we actually do all of our, and tell everybody, we actually do all of our recording for ITW on the MacBook. So people don't believe that. They think we have some big production studio. We actually do it in a little small closet. So we don't have much more, we probably have less than what the teachers have in their classroom. So all of our editing is done right from a MacBook. And then we know every teacher has a desktop or a Revolve in their classroom. So if you have those, you can use Movie Maker, and that's a popular tool that's been around forever. And I think a very popular one is actually called Camtasia. It's another resource that teachers can use. So you have to take a look at, getting back to what you were saying, you have to take a look at your hardware, you have to take a look at the software that you have available to you.
All right, those are great answers. There's a lot of great tools that are available, and I think that kind of will get some of our teachers in the right spot. So thank you for that information. So let's go check out Heather Ramsey and see what she thinks about what will make a really good podcast. So we're with Heather Ramsey, Instructional Technology Specialist. Thank you for joining us. So Heather Nussbaum talked about the vision. David talked about the resources. What's the next step in making a good podcast?
I think it's really important for people to develop a plan for what they want their broadcast to be about. Maybe a list of shows you want to develop, or plan your props that you need, or if you ever want an expert to come in, have that planned weeks in advance. For example, a couple weeks ago, I planned a video about developing a strong password for a Tech Minute, and we scheduled it so that it fit in with Digital Citizenship Week.
That's good. That's some good feedback. I really like that the planning and the organization is a key part of making good broadcasts. Let's check out Rebecca and let's see what she has to say about what she thinks will make a good broadcast. So we're here with Rebecca Thompson / Aubrey Harrison for the day. She's an instructional technology specialist. So Rebecca, creating a great podcast. We talked about the vision. We talked about the resources. We talked about the organization. What's the next step in making a good podcast?
Well, Aubrey, you've got to have talent. They've got to be energetic, ready to go. You got to make sure your talent is prepared for your questions, that their answer fulfills your purpose of your podcast. Otherwise, it defeats all your efforts.
Now that's a great answer. Having good talent is the key to making a good podcast. Thank you, Rebecca / Aubrey, for your response. That's going to do it for this week's edition of ITW. We talked a lot about podcasting today. Hopefully you guys got some good information about how you can start podcasting at your own school. Remember, you can always contact us here at CLN. You can hit us up at Twitter at CMS to the core, and you can always send us an email at cln@cms.k12.nc.us. But thank you guys for joining us, and make sure you stay tuned for another episode of ITW.